So far today, we've had an overview of Plains Indian art. We've had two Native artists talk about specific style from their tribe. We've also dug deep into pictographic work. Our next session is three artists that will talk about their artistic style within their tribe. It'll be three different ones, and also how work of their ancestors informs what they do. So this next session is called Exploring Tribal Beadwork Styles. Our first speaker is Marianne Parker, who is Kiowa. She has had the honor of being Kiowa Tribal Princess in 2013 to 2014 and enjoyed her time representing her Kiowa people across Oklahoma and the U.S. She currently works at the First American Museum as an assistant curator and has been there for 7 years. She graduated from Oklahoma City University with her Bachelor's of Arts and received her MFA in Cultural Administration with a double emphasis, not single, but a double emphasis in Arts Administration and Tribal Museum and Cultural Center Administration from IAIA. She's a lifelong participant within the Kiowa community and brings that experience along with her formal education to benefit her professional work in museums. Please welcome Marianne Parker.
My bad. Hopefully you can see me. I'm a little on the small side. Just to explain who I am, Honde Onde Embam, Empeta Akan, Koimatanada, my name's Marianne Guletto Parker. My Kiowa name is Ampeta, which means she laughs a lot, she smiles a lot. I come from a small place called Hawk Creek, Oklahoma. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. It's okay. But it's in Anadarko, Oklahoma. That's where I grew up. This is me and my husband, who is also a tribal member, but he's Comanche. But I like to make a joke that he's really Kiowa through and through because he's always there with me with everything I do and I make. This is us during our annual Gourd Clan. And then really how I got started beadworking is through my mother, and she might be really mad that I used this picture, but this is one of my favorite pictures of her. She's the one that taught me how to bead. She gave me the first beads, needles, and she was like, here, help me with this dress. I need this edged. And I sat there and I said, okay, yeah, I'll sit there and bead and work on this with you. So she's essentially the one that taught me like the techniques and the mechanisms of how to beadwork. This is me and my family. We did a family road trip when I lived out in Wyoming, and that's really who I do a lot of my beadwork for, is for my family, my husband, my mom, and my dad, because they're the ones that really support me in what I do and what I continue to do. And this is a picture of one of my great-grandmothers and her beadwork, and I'm influenced a lot from like older beadwork that I see from Kiowa aesthetics, just because like I think it's so regal, it's so beautiful that it's different from a lot of things, and I think everyone will say like, you know, my tribe's beadwork's the best, and I think all beadwork's the best. Like I'm in awe of the artistic capabilities of all our tribal people, because I mean, me and my mom talk about like, how did they know to put needle to these beads, to thread, to like change these like drawings, these quill work, these earth paintings into beadwork? Like, who really thought how to do that? Like, I'm like, I don't know, Mom, but you know, we're still doing it, and we're like prevalent through these things. And then a lot of it's like generational teaching. So this is a picture of me and my niece finishing her leggings, literally finishing her leggings during her annual ceremonies. During COVID, my nieces lived with me and my husband during that time because she was going through college, and you know, we live in a rural area, but we live in the city, my husband and I. So she lived with us going to school during COVID. We're all home. So her and I were working on different projects to get ready for our annual ceremonies. And so I took what my mom taught me and started teaching her to how to make her own leggings, to make her own dresses, her own pouches, and everything. So it's really just like taking what my mom taught me to teach my nieces, and I know that they're gonna go through and start teaching their kids to bead and do different things. A lot of this is my earlier work from when I was in middle school. I wasn't really focused on what Kiowa beadwork is or what the aesthetic is. It was mostly just doing it for fun to see what I can do. I made a New York Yankees medallion for a friend in middle school. This is really terrible. When I looked at this picture in detail, I was like, I can't believe I made that. This like, you're your hardest critic. So I was like, this is terrible work. But I'm like, but I made it out of love because I do care for this friend, and it was a gift. These are the first pair of leggings that I made myself in middle school. My mom, through teaching me how to do this, she does not touch my work. She tells me what to do, how to do it, and if it's wrong, she says, take it out, do it again. Like, she will not lay hands and do it herself, even though sometimes she probably does get frustrated that I'm like asking so many questions. But I think it was a bit easier to learn from her than my grandmother. I would try to work with my grandmother on different projects, and every time one of us would end up crying, and it was always me. Because she was like, she would get so frustrated because I was like, I don't understand, how do you do this? And she was like, no, you're doing it wrong, here, do this. And I was like, okay, Grandma. So she's great, my grandma, she's amazing, and she's funny, but we can't work on projects together because I think we're too much of alike. And that's why I'm always like, I'm gonna end up crying, but it's cool. And then like a pair of OSU earrings, like I really wasn't thinking of like aesthetic, like patterns and designs, but it was just more of like out of fun and the techniques and like doing the motions and getting used to how to hold my thread. What kind of needles do I like? Long, short? Is this needle gonna go through this bead? Is it not? And then I think a real test is beading through a graduation cap because the fabric moves, and you're working on beadwork, buckskin, it doesn't move that much. It's got a little tug here and there, but beading on fabric, I think, is a whole different thing. And so this is another one of first and only graduation caps that I've ever done and beaded on for a friend. And a lot of my projects that I do work on beadwork-wise is things for friends and families, gifts here and there. I don't really make a lot of my beadwork to sell, or if I do, it's because someone's like, I really like this, and how much? And I'm like, I don't know, this much? Like, I just do this as a hobby, something for fun, and that I like to do. The big thing I work on in my practice is moccasins. This is something that not a lot of people back home know how to do or work on, so it's like something fun and interesting. Like these pair of moccasins, men's moccasins, this is the first pair of men's moccasins I ever made. And when I say women's moccasins and leggings, to me, are a lot easier than men's moccasins. It's no joke, because I didn't know how much more went into details for these men's moccasins, because you got the cones on the side, the flaps, the tongue sticks different. And so I really took my time making these for my husband. They're really dirty and they need to be cleaned because he doesn't clean them, I do. But just like learning how to take care of these things too. It's like, you don't know like how to clean buckskin until you're really working with it and moving it. Like, it's gonna tug different ways. So I had to learn how, instead of it going, the flaps going this way, they're gonna go this way, because I don't want it to stretch and he's gonna be stepping on them. And then my first lesson was working on the men's moccasins for my dad with my mom. She lived with me for about a month in Wyoming, and we sat there every day. I'd get off work, and we would work on these pair of moccasins for my dad, because he does a lot for us, and we do a lot for him. And so, like, this was my first lesson of how men's moccasins are put together. And since then, I've kind of taken off and working on them. And then my first personal pair of moccasins, I made these while I was in high school. Again, I wasn't really looking at colors. Like, I just loved the blues and the purples and how they blended together, and like just learning the techniques and the mechanisms of putting my own pair of moccasins together. It was like it still is like a learning thing for me. But just these different things, like this is what I mostly focus on now. And, a lot of people ask for help, or they want moccasins made for them. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help you. I'll come over. I'll teach you, and we'll hang out, and I'll show you what I know, because we have to pass that knowledge forward. And then, like, a lot of my design processes, a lot of it's just doodling, I think. It's me spacing out sometimes, just thinking of different ideas and drawings. And I think all my notebooks have doodles in the corner of different floral techniques, different oak leaves, and then, like, the geometric designs. Like, I think when you're an artist, like, you see it in your head, but I feel like it's harder to get it out on paper, especially when it's like just like pencil, and you see the, like, I see the colors, like, I know what color combos I want to put in some of these designs, but I don't always have my colored pencils or crayons with me, so it's hard to like really put that out there. But like, it's just, well, this is just what I do. It's just doodling, drawing. I share pictures with my mom. We'll send stuff back and forth of, how do you think this would look on these pair of leggings? How do you think this would look on a dress? And it's just like me and her really going back and forth all the time of sharing our ideas and how we're gonna get stuff done. For Kiowas, we mostly think, you think of oak leaves. Like, these are different types of oak leaves that I've beaded and put together. And there's different types for different families. So each family may have their own family oak leaf design colors that they use. And you'll see that on their dresses, their hair ties, barrettes, their leggings. And to me, this is how, like, I identify as a Kiowa woman, a Kiowa person, is wearing my oak leaves, wearing all my stuff all the time. Like this is who I am, this is what I wear, and this is what, to me, what Kiowas are. Like, we use a lot of these oak leaves and florals and different things. This is like how we self-identify, and like, I love looking at older pictures of like the more abstract oak leaves that they don't look like oak leaves, but if like, when you know, like, that's an oak leaf. These are just other projects that I worked on with my mom. To me, she's the keenest beadworker there is, because she's made all my stuff since I was little to now. I've helped her out with the elk tooth dress. I make a lot of her rosettes that go on the dresses that she makes, that she gets commissioned to make. Like, this is the stuff that I do for her, and I help her out with a lot of it. So a lot of it's like generational sharing, generational projects and group projects that my family work on. The next big project that we're working on is a cradle board for my husband and I's kid. So it's a big family thing. So my husband and my dad are gonna be the ones going and collecting the wood, getting that together, shaping it, putting it together. We already have the rawhide, so they're gonna cut the rawhide for my mom and I, and her and I are gonna collaborate on the beadwork designs for that cradle board. So a lot of my beadwork, a lot of my styles is just collaborating with my family members, my mother most of all. These pair of earrings, when I got married, I made all of my bridesmaids their earrings to go with their outfits and dresses. So that was a part of my gift for my bridesmaids, my mom, and my grandma. So a lot of my stuff is just like influence from designs from my patterns and my things, and I try to share that with my friends and family as much as I can, just through my work. And then working in museums, I've had the privilege of having access to a lot of places that people like me do not, and I'm happy to like bring my husband or my mom along with me, so we can all learn together of like how these moccasins are put together, how these men's leggings are put together, or shirts, and like learn from these designs and projects. And I feel like I'm very fortunate to be here and thankful to be here to talk about my tribal community and my artwork, because I know there's a lot of more Kiowa artists who are more distinguished than I am, but I look up to them, and even all the other panelists here, people talking, like, I look up to a lot of you guys. Like, you don't know, but I probably do follow you on Instagram and everything, because like, I just love the work that we do as Native people, and collaborating, and just all the traveling and the work. It's just amazing, and I'm thankful to be here, because I don't feel like I'm the best bead worker there is in my community, but I do try to do as much as I can for my family and my community, anywhere and everywhere. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I know there's more people who are a lot better bead workers than I am, but just sharing a little bit of my small artistic journey and how my family is a big influence on the projects I work on and the beadwork that I do. Thank you.
Marianne, thank you so much. Our next speaker is Mikailah Thompson. She's an African-American indigenous beadwork artist from Nimîipuu Nation, located in Idaho. She learned the art of beading from her grandmother, Chloe Half Moon. Her unique work combines both traditional Nimîipuu and African influences. Please welcome Mikailah Thompson.
How we doing? Good? We feeling good after lunch? Good, good. You're not tired, right? You want to get up, stretch, breathe. We're okay? Cool. That was a good lunch. All right. So, as Joe mentioned, my name is Mikailah. Let me see. Let me get my notes going. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to try to keep up with the clicker. I'm really bad at just going through my presentation, and we're stuck on like the first or second slide. So I'm going to keep going. But Tots Lahain or Tots Halach, good afternoon. Ina munik dwas telekayun mai kasoyapo timtki Mikailah. In Kalaunawat ka talyat tashlapwepa nakats Chloe Half Moon ka napluk Delbert Ellenwood and eats Diane Ellenwood. So that's the family I come from, the Half Moons and Ellenwood families. I'm a bead worker, and I've been doing it now for about 22 years. My maternal grandmother, Chloe Half Moon, taught me how to bead, and I've been going strong ever since. And I do it full time now for the last 5 years, so I've been really kind of just creating my own way and learning as I go and really appreciating the art for what it is, and just kind of tapping into my own identity a little bit. So I'll kind of be talking about that. But to kind of start at the beginning, I grew up all over the place. I hate the question of, where are you from? Because it's like, okay, let me backtrack and kind of go from there. But I was born on the East Coast, and I kind of bounced from Connecticut, Delaware, New York, and then moved over to the West Coast with my mom, living in Montana and Idaho. And so I kind of got the best of both worlds of understanding both sides of my family and learning both sides of my family and kind of seeing my culture and who I am as I grew up at different times. So once I started beading, I kind of really just had a really strong passion for it, to where I know I wanted to keep going, and it was really fun, and I loved learning. So yeah, that was kind of my start in terms of how I learned and where I got started. And so we can start at the very, very, very beginning of beadwork in the Nimîipuu Nation, or as colonizers called us, Nez Perce. We are originally from the Pacific Northwest, so our original homelands is Wallowa, Oregon. That's where our tribe really wanted to stay before we were relocated. So what you know now as Oregon, Washington, Montana, slice of Montana, and Idaho is where we're originally from. When we were forced to move off of our lands, before that we basically try to make our way to Montana. That way we didn't have to be forced off of our lands, which a lot of people know now is the Battle of Big Hole. So after that battle, that's when we had to leave, and we went to Oklahoma, and then we kind of fought our way back to what is now Idaho, and that's where our reservation is now. So there's a few pictures kind of some of our old warriors and my ancestors, and you can really notice some of the work that's a part of that, whether it's the bags, the necklaces, the headboards. That's kind of where we started. And before beadwork in all of its forms and in all of its ways, basketry was kind of where we started. And one thing that we're really known for is corn husk. So before beadwork was corn husk. So we would take the husk of the corn, we would dry it, and then we would really tightly and intricately kind of weave the corn husk together. And so a lot of the items that we would create would be these really big corn husk bags, similar to parfleche in the sense of them being bags, and how we would transport pretty much anything and everything as we would travel and gather and things like that. So on the bottom left-hand side, you see a corn husk bag with a geometric design. You see the corn husk hats, which you really don't see too much corn husk just in everyday. It's one of those things where there aren't a lot of weavers that still kind of do this style. You know, I mean, there's still people that do it, but it's not as common as beadwork, so to speak. So a lot of the times you see a lot of those corn husk pieces during powwows or during regalia or ceremony or special moments. But that's kind of where we started in terms of kind of creating an art form. And then the original beadwork, which is where we would utilize, you know, the animal that we hunted. So when we hunt any type of animal, for example, elk, we're using the whole entire animal, right? We're using the meat to feed our families. We're using the hide to make clothes or to, you know, keep our homes warm, etc. Or even making string to make sure that everything is staying put and well put together and tight. But the teeth we're using as beads. The bones, we're making bone beads to use those on necklaces as well. Shells and wampum. Wampum is a form of a shell that had monetary value. So in a lot of our pictures and the pictures that I just previously showed, we have kind of the wampum necklaces. And back then, again, it was a form of monetary, it was a form of money. And you kind of had a lot, if you see people wearing wampum or even dentillium, it's kind of that sign of prestige. But we didn't really wear that for that sense. It was just something that we really would like to wear. So wampum is very popular in brass as well. We got brass through trade. So we would ask for, like, for example, if soldiers were passing through, we would ask for whether it was their buttons or if they had brass on their hats or whatever it is, we would incorporate that into our work as well. And so there's a few examples of how we would utilize some of the things that we would create using just, what we had off of the land. And also with trading with neighboring tribes as well. So on the far right, Pio Tlict, he has the kind of the dentillium breastplate. That wasn't necessarily so common within the tribe as wampum was, as Chief Joseph and everyone else is wearing around their necks, because that was a form of money as well. But we would trade with coastal tribes to create things like that. All right, and then we kind of get a little bit further, and then we get into trading and people coming through our homeland. So around 1700s is really when beadwork boomed. So a lot of people think it kind of came from the start of Lewis and Clark, which wasn't the case. We were trading with anybody and everybody coming through our homeland. So just as we do now when we're traveling, we have to stop for food, we have to stop for a place to stay. They're doing the same things, and we're asking for specific beads, we're asking for specific colors. So we had people coming from all over the world, Italy, China, Europe, Spain, and we would ask for specific colors. And so within Nimîipuu beadwork, you'll see a lot of common color palettes that we would ask for. And so with kind of our surroundings, we would specifically use these specific colors of like black and whites, that chalk white. We would use those, what I like to call that old style pink, commonly known as like Cheyenne pink, the navies, the greens. And so that was kind of our primary color palette. And so whenever you see like a kind of a solidified baby blue background or a chalk white background, that's kind of signifies that it's just kind of a detail that you can tell that it's Nimîipuu beadwork. A lot of times we get confused with Apsalaga beadwork, but it's because we have a very similar color palette and we used to trade with surrounding tribes or nearby tribes. And so there were different styles of beadwork just throughout time, just as we have different trends in the things that we wear, or different techniques and styles that we utilize in our own arts and our own crafts. And so when beadwork really did begin to boom, we would combine a lot of those older style beads and pieces that we originally used with a lot of the things that we would begin to trade with. So for example, the buckskin dress on the left, that's combining both of those things. We're using the animal, we're using the beads that we have, we're using the cones or the brass that we traded. And then fast forward a little bit more, now you see vests, because rather than wearing buckskin, you're seeing people wearing, different shirts or different pants, things like that. And so within between the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there were different trends of maybe it was florals. Like my tribe and my great-grandmother, Nancy Half Moon, she would do, her thing was roses, and roses were hard. We were talking about roses this morning and how hard they are to shade and the detail, and one bead could really throw off a whole piece. So it's the pressure of it and making sure that you're shading and getting the details in there can be complicated. And so again, roses was really common, and then you go into portraits. Within, I want to say the 60s or 70s, a lot of portraits were pink. So you'll see pictures of people and their skin tone is pink, but we didn't have all the different colors of browns and different shades like that. And then florals have always kind of been in there, along with the geometrics, as you've seen with the corn husk. Those were very common as well. So different styles. Patriotism was really big in the 90s because a lot of our veterans and people in our communities going into the war. So different styles of beadwork was being used. And so you see a couple flat bags on there. You don't see too many of those often. So the one with the horse and the one with the flowers, they can be this big or they can be this small. And those you don't see too much because of the amount of work that it takes to create those. But those are kind of an old style piece to where they would put a lot of those kind of detailed images on there. And so everything I just said is part of my inspiration. I kind of learned about beadwork later on. It wasn't something that was just readily out there within, my community. So doing the research and getting to understand, getting to learn and unlearn a lot of things as well kind of inspired me to bead the way that I do. I like to use some of those kind of influences and stories and kind of put those into my work as well. So a lot of those things kind of really have helped me create the work that I do create. And when we talk about community, I think a lot of natives and tribes, when we come together, like we're creating community without really realizing it. So not only does my community inspire me and how much they support my work, and I still ordering for me, and that I really appreciate them for being able to support my work, and it feels good when your community has your back. But then also creating community. I've been teaching, haven't taught a class in a while, but I started teaching classes maybe a couple years ago. And I was just telling Jessa Ray's mom, like, when I started these classes, I was like, I don't know who's going to want to listen to me or learn from me. Like, I'm not that good for somebody to listen to me. But I remember listing my first class and woke up in the morning, I'm like, I probably got 1 or 2 people. I had 150 people in that class, and it was my first class, and it was just a hat class. I'm like, oh, okay. So sitting down and learning from people as well is, you could always learn from anybody and everybody. And so being in that class, it was awesome to learn, a lot of people in there was like, yeah, I didn't feel good enough to bead, or, because I would make them Native American only. Like, you can't join the class unless you're Native, because I want to create a safe space and safe community. And it's crazy to know how many people just didn't feel good enough to get started, or their parents might have passed away, grandparents might have passed away. So creating community and learning from one another is also one of my big inspirations. So these are some of my pieces. I know we're talking about kind of contemporary style, and we all, dress how we want to. We all have our own unique style, like even down to my necklace, and I like to be able to just kind of play with different designs and different elements of accessories and how to accessorize, but keeping those stories a part of those things that I make. So that first bag, I call it kokol, that's how you say bison. I made a bison flat bag. So again, flat bags is an old style design to where it's literally just a flat bag, and so you can either bead it one-sided, you can bead it double-sided. That one in particular is single-sided. And we also used to be buffalo hunters with the Salish and Apsalaga, and so doing that bison head was really fun to do, and it's hard to see. You can't really see the shading from a picture, but up close, had a lot of fun with that shading. The second picture, I combined both Nimîipuu and Nigerian influence into that bag. So, being Native, a lot of the times, we have our tribal departments to where you can pull your family tree and you can find who your family is, and a lot of your family's in that community. But being Black, our history has only gone so far. You can't get down to the exact family you're from or tribe you're from being Black. And so I took Ancestry, found out I was like basically a quarter Nigerian, and I was like, oh my gosh. So it made me want to dig deeper and kind of look into those designs, and I started putting them together because they're pieces of me. I got that old style pink in there with those geometric designs. I got that brass in there to make you feel important and powerful when you hold it, and then right down the middle I have that Nigerian design that I found as well. And then on the end, it's called the Nimîipuu Ayat bag, so just Nimîipuu woman bag, and I have those hand-shaven dentilium shells on the side, those geometric patterns, the basket hat, which resembles our people being strong corn husk weavers. The necklace signifies the wampum and the brass, so I like to have those stories that go along with my work. Here's a few more. Top left-hand corner, I made that for my mom. it was supposed to be a flat bag, but I added in like a strip of beadwork or strip of buckskin in the middle, so that way you can get more stuff in there. But that was kind of my play on the corn husk bags and paying, honoring the corn husk and our people. Second image is Chief Joseph. Third image is Yellow Wolf. And he is one of our last known storytellers of the Big Hole Battle. So just intertwining history and people and making sure these faces aren't being forgotten, and this art form as well. I have a Parfleche wallet up there, Parfleche. I got this big obsession with Parfleche, and I even made a bag. Like I made this whole collection of Parfleche, and that also was a form of storytelling. Bottom left is a wall canvas, because I'm like, this is art as well. You can be able to, when you see beadwork, you want to smell it, you want to touch it, you want to, really kind of get in there and see, oh wow, how did they do this? So that was a cool way of just doing something that was large enough to put on a wall and to look at. But otherwise, other small accessories, things like that make it more of a contemporary art form. And then a few collaborations I had the opportunity to do, and I only put this up here to just show that, a lot of our stories are continued. By you being in this room, we're continuing those stories, and being able to collaborate with people or brands or other artists and adding our stories to those pieces are really amazing. And I've had the opportunity to do that, and it's all about just indigenizing spaces. So being able to do that and make contemporary things in order to tell our story and create our own narrative is something that excites me. But anyway, keep supporting Indigenous artists, and I'm very, very, very thankful to be here, Joe. I just want to thank you so much as well. When it comes down to it, you're supporting our stories, you're supporting our people. We do this for us, and how we share our stories is important, and we do it for our own. And the biggest question I get when I go to markets or I go to any art event is, how long did that take? And it wasn't until an artist told me, I refuse to answer that question, because when someone asks you how long something takes, they're trying to put worth on your piece, which kind of just comes down to capitalism. And so what you're really getting, and which goes beyond money, it's our stories, it's our families, it's our tradition, it's our lived experiences that we had to feel. It's literally our blood, sweat, and tears that go into the piece, and that's what you're contributing to. So I just want to say thank you, Katsiao, and I appreciate you listening to me today.
Very interesting. Our next presenter is Brocade Stops Black Eagle. She lives on the Crow Indian Reservation located in south central Montana. She's an accomplished fashion designer and beadwork artist who previously worked as a registered nurse for more than a decade. She and her family are active members of the Crow community, participating in cultural events throughout the year. Later this evening, you'll learn more about Brocade, because she is one of the cultural consultants for Creative Continuities. So please welcome Brocade.
Hello, everyone. So we're on. I'm last. I was hoping I would be first, because I'm very nervous. So bear with me. Thank you, everyone, for being here today, especially with the weather. I hear it rarely ever rains here, and we came here from Montana, and maybe we brought the rain. I don't know. But we're dealing with it, and I'm just so thankful to be here today, and it's so lovely to see everyone here. Thank you for all your support, and I look forward to visiting with you later. But as Joe said, he introduced me. My name is Brocade Stops Black Eagle. I'm Crow, Mandan, Hidatsa. So just a little tidbit, Crows and Hidatsas were once one tribe. And so what happened with me is, if you guys ever want to matchmake people you think may get along well, go for it, because I am a product of it. So my mother's auntie, who is from North Dakota, that's where my mother was from originally, Mandarin, North Dakota, she came down to Crow. Her auntie was married in Crow. She's actually Hidatsa Mandan. She went down to Crow, visited her auntie, and they matchmade her with my dad. And 2 years later, I was born. So it does work out. So where I was going with the whole Crow and Hidatsa, they were once one tribe. So 2 summers I would stay with my grandmother in North Dakota, and she would get on the phone, and she would, I always knew when she was talking Hidatsa because it sounded very similar to Crow. And then she'd get on the phone and talk Mandan, so I knew she was talking Mandan because it was totally different. So my mother did grow up with a similar cultural aspect, so I think that really played in a role of her moving to Crow, because they moved to Crow, made their home in Croydon, Montana, where I was born and raised. So I feel like that really added a lot to the pieces we created together, our art, our beadwork. So just a little tidbit. So I was born and raised on a Crow reservation, where I currently reside with my husband and my 3 sons. And here's a picture of us. We had this taken last Christmas. That's my husband Levi in the back. On the left is Rivers. Sitting by me is Crimson, and then Danger is on the far right. Your guys is right. So everything you see here is something that I beaded. I love beading for my family. It gives me so much joy, and I'm so proud that they're able to wear my beadwork, and I love seeing them parade. I love seeing them dance. So we had to get a picture before they outgrew all their beadwork. So this was a picture a year ago. So I just wanted to jump into the Crow beadwork. So here are some examples of the old Crow designs. If you can tell, a lot of it was outlined in white or navy blue. I've also seen where they used the forest green. And the shapes that we use is a lot of triangles, a lot of the hourglass, a lot of squares, rectangles, triangles, and we do use a lot of the blues, the yellows, the greens, and we call it Crow pink. I know there's kind of some controversy there, yes, I just had to say it. And I just love the example of the old Crow designs, and this is what really speaks to me. This is the kind of designs and the colors that I like to use in my art. And this is some other examples of Crow beadwork. On the left, you'll see a mirror case, and I just loved how they put everything there. I always say there's always a design within a design when you look at Crow beadwork. So if you look at that, if you look in the middle, there's a design. On the side, there's another design. So I always feel like there's a design within a design if you really look at it. And also we have the Crow floral beadwork right there to the right, using our colors. And then these are actually in the museum that I got to come and look at. Was that 4 years ago when we came? Yeah. Was that? Today's anniversary, 4 years ago, I came to the archery, and I got to come in and look at these pieces firsthand, and let me tell you, it was amazing. It was just really a blessing, and I felt really emotional being able to look at them, because if you think about it, they beaded these so long ago, and they don't have the luxuries that we have today when we bead. We have the right lighting, we have comfy chairs, we have all the supplies we need, and they didn't have that then, and they were able to create masterpieces. So to me, I just really appreciated the time and the art and the thinking that went into this, to all these projects. So this is a fully beaded vest with floral, and it has Old White Man on there. To the right are the beaded gloves, and it has BOC, so that's Barney Old Coyote Senior. And so I actually went to school, would have been his granddaughter. I went to nursing school with her, so it was really cool to send her that picture and be like, hey, is this your grandma or your grandpa? And so it's kind of cool to correlate those two. So also this is Old White Man beadwork down here. That's a case, mirror case. And I just love the floral work. It's amazing. And then to the right here is the elk tooth dress. And so with elk tooth dress, it really signified that a woman was well taken care of, that she was very wealthy, because you can only take 2 elk ivories from 1 elk. So think about how many elk. Yeah. And then we ate well, because we were well provided. We took every part of the animal and utilized them. So the elk tooth dress, and they're placed on wool tray cloth. And to the right is also a belt pouch, and to the bottom are high-top moccasins with a beautiful floral design. And so to the right, I forgot to put this with the other one with the old white man. If you notice the shape of the purse and how the design is upside down, we were thinking that it was utilized from the top of a cradle board. So this is a cradle board on the left. So do you see the shape? And then it's kind of upside down. So we're thinking they took that and made it into a purse, was my observation. To the left is a cradle board, and I love cradle boards. So if you didn't notice from the first picture, I had all those cradle boards in the background. Cradle boards are my favorite thing to bead. I just love how we're able to place our babies in it and get a picture. And I always thought they would cry and freak out once they got in it, but they love them. They just fall asleep. They fall asleep and they love being in there, like being cuddled and swaddled. It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's a perfect example of a cradle board. So if you see, it's outlined in white and navy blue, and we have the light blue with the crow pink and the yellows and the greens. Okay, and then I just wanted to jump right into Crow Fair. So the history of Crow Fair was started in 1904. It was a celebration of harvest and community. The Crow tribe added cultural aspects, dancing, racing, and the parade. And Agent Reynolds lightened the United States government restriction policy towards traditional Indian ceremonies and social events. So here's a picture of some young ladies participating in Crow Fair. They're beautiful. And then this is also a picture I found, Crow dancers. It was between 1910 to 1920. And I just love do you guys see the cars in the background? Kind of cool, like with the collaboration there. And then I just love looking at all their outfits, and it's amazing how there was this little boy in the middle with his beaded buckskin pants and then his hat. It looks like it matches. So it's really, I love this picture. And then this is a picture of little girls parading during Crow Fair. And I did see where one was titled, the girl to the far right, while your guys' left. It said her name was Mary Ann Carpenter, and that would be my great-grandmother. Yeah, so we come from a long line of paraders. And then this is a picture of Crow Fair, and I just wanted to picture, we are actually called teepee capital of the world. So we have thousands of teepees that we place, or that we put up every Crow for about a week. And I wanted you guys to check out the arbor. So this is an old picture. I'm not sure what year this was, but this is an old picture of our arbor. We recently got a new arbor. This was, the last teepee capital of the world, the last Crow Fair 2025, we had 1,756 teepees placed up, and we had 918 dancers. So that's how big this celebration is. And it's not just the powwow. We also have a rodeo. We have the parade, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's always the third weekend in August. So if you guys want to visit, it's always the third weekend in August. So we have all those. And then also, my husband coordinates, there is a run. So if anyone out here loves to run, even walk, it's called a teepee creeper. So it's a 5K run, 5K run, and you get to run through the campgrounds. It's really cool. But if you don't like the smell of food while you're running, it might affect you. Because they're up cooking breakfast. It's that early. So it's a lot of fun, though. So if you guys ever come down, come check that out. And it is free. Oh, okay. And then, so this is the new dance arbor. This was completed in 2022, and we love it. We're very proud of it. There's the inside, I'll show you a picture inside, and there's places on the outside where you can vendor and set up. It's just amazing, and this is all located in Crow Agency, Montana. This is the inside. Okay, and then Crow Fair is a very busy time for me and my family. So this is my husband and my son and my nephew dancing Crow Fair. That's my son in the middle who loves to dance, and that's my son Danger and my husband Levi who likes to dance. So this was just last Crow Fair, just to get a picture of how it looks inside when they dance. And also, so I'm a designer and I am an owner of Brocade. I also vendor during this time. So Crow Fair is very busy for us. So I'm set up at all times. So I wanted to go over Absalaga parade horse gear, which you will see in the exhibit later on today. These are some items here. So You'll see the cradle board hanging off the horse saddle on the right. You'll see the saddle there. There's beadwork hanging off of the 2 horns. You see the lance case there. There's the crupper in the back. There's the reins. We bead those, and there's also, it's called a keyhole. It hangs off the forehead. So I'm going to go a little more in depth and show you each one of those pieces here soon. This is the left side view. I'm going to go into that more here. Okay, so this is the keyhole. So everything you see is what I beaded for my old-time saddle, which I prayed every curl fair. So this is the keyhole. So this goes on the forward of the head of the, I can't even talk, the forehead of the horse. These are the bridles. This is the martingale. So it hangs in the front of the horse off the neck. This is the saddle blanket, so you put that on, then you put the saddle on top. And the beadwork is on the back area. This is the old-time saddle, so this is what we strap onto the horse and we sit on. This covers the stirrup on the saddle. This is the crupper, so this hangs on the rump of the horse, the back area, and you guys will see this on in the exhibit. These are the saddle blankets, so we tie these on the back bottom of the horns of the saddle. And this is the lance case, so this hangs off the right back. So in the exhibit, you'll see it kind of hanging more off, kind of lower. It's supposed to be higher. We're going to fix that later, just so you know. And it was kind of different, kind of setting it up because we had to reserve, like we couldn't really mess with the saddle blanket and the crupper because it's older and we didn't want to mess up the beadwork or anything. So it was really tricky on how to place it, just because usually it would go underneath those 2, just so you know. And then this is the war bonnet case, so it held the war bonnet. And this is the cradle board. We hang it off the right front. And this is the mountain lion. So we usually place this on the saddle and we sit on it. And that usually comes with each, we use that for just showing that our men are great hunters. Because I don't know if you've ever seen a mountain lion. They're big cats, and they'd be scary to get. So it's just representing our men were very good hunters. All right, and that's me, curl fair, because I love to parade. My family, we love parading. So this is how we actually started beading. So we started out with no beadwork, me and my family. And my sister wanted to dance and parade. So my mother made it happen. I grew up around beading. My grandmother beaded. We'd go and stay the summers with her, and she would sit there and bead. So that's how I was first introduced to it. But my mother's really the one that took the time to sit down with me and bead. And we did a lot of research. We went to a lot of community events, museums, and we really researched beadwork and how to look. And we even got our horses out and would measure it to make sure that the fit was right, like the martingale and other things that it fit the horses, because horses are not all made the same either. So we had a lot of fun. So that's me during this last curl fair. And this is just a picture of, so it's just not horseback riding. We do have a lot of floats. So there's also a float section in the back, and this was just a float that I put on that I had, and it shows all my cradle boards and then the lance case. And this is me getting ready during curl fair, during a parade. So I know it looks really calm here, but it's not calm. We pull up in our car with all our stuff and we're loading, they're getting the horse ready. There's a lot of strong words, a lot of glares. Yeah, and a lot of rushing around. It's really chaotic, and it's amazing how we can really get it all together and get going. Because when I was in exhibit this past week, they were like, what do you think about the placement? Is that good placement? Is that a good? And I was like, honestly, we do this in like 10 minutes, and as long as nothing is falling off, we're good. And if you come back and you have all your pieces and you're not hurt, it was a good parade. You know, like I was just like, I never thought so much about placement. It was really hard for me. It was a great experience. So this is us getting ready for the parade. It's me putting all the items on. And that is our camp in the background with the teepees and everything. And you guys will see an exhibit, my brother-in-law, little man, and my husband putting up a teepee. And also me and my sister helping, so I'll be in the background. And then that's me and my husband. So my husband's outfit, actually, a lot of my designs, they come to me. Like with his design, I dreamt about it. So I knew that was a special design, and I made sure I put it on my husband's outfit, and that's his. And sometimes I just think about it. I'll go for a run, and a design will come to me. And I write it down, and I beat it. So that was us during Curl Fair. I'm getting his gear ready. All his stuff is fully beaded. It does match his horse gear. And then that's us parading during Curl Fair. And that's my husband's outfit. That's my brother-in-law, little man. He paraded Curl Fair too. And then also a big part of beading for me and for my family is being able to pass it down. We started this, and my ultimate goal is to prepare my future, my grandchildren, for when they want to parade, for when they want to dance. So they'll have those tools to do that. And this picture is precious to me because these are our grandchildren. And this past Curl Fair, we were able to parade with them. And she is in a cradle board, and then that's my grandson. I also beaded that outfit for my boys. So it's already starting. I'm able to hand it down, which it means so much to me. So I think that's it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Joe.
All right, that was great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It was really, really enjoyable. I have a couple of questions. All three of you mentioned the idea of passing down knowledge, but also having knowledge passed down to you as well. And I'm wondering if you could if you can expand on that. And the reason why I want to bring it up is, so my father was one of the first Native curators in the country. And I learned from him, and now I am told that people learn from me as well. And, in my mind, I'm still a 20-year-old bonehead, right? So I don't consider myself somebody who is a keeper of any kind of knowledge. And as people who are younger than me, in a way you have knowledge that was given to you, but also you're in a position also to pass that on, as you mentioned, with your class, with your family, whatever the case may be. So I'm wondering if each of you can sort of discuss that concept, what it means to you personally.
For me personally, I totally believe in passing it down, because just starting off and us having to do research, having to ask communities, our community members how to do and bead something that we've never beaded before. It was awesome when they did show us and they were willing to share how they made something. And so I do have classes that I hold maybe twice a year. I'll put it out there. I'll have the location, and I bring all my beadwork in so people can get patterns, can ask me how I made it. But I always say everyone beads differently. This is just how I do it. Somebody else may have a different way that they put this item together, the way they bead it. But I just share and I express that this is just how I do it, and you may learn how to do it in your way. But to me, it's very important to be able to pass that down and make it readily available for the future generation. So if they want to bead, I can at least give them the tools, because beadwork takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. So at least if I can make it a little easier and accessible for them to be able to get patterns, to be able to ask somebody, hey, how did you do this? How did you do that? I'm more than willing to share with them.
I can go next. I think it's just really important to have patience. I think my mom having the patience with me of asking thousands of questions of like, why we do it like this? How do I do it like that? And her just taking the time and like explaining it to me was really nice. Like, yeah, my grandmother, she did make me cry all the time when we work on projects, but it was just because she, we're such alike, and she was like getting frustrated because I would ask her a lot of questions. I joked that my grandmother favored the boys, my grandpa favored the girls, so he would get on to her about being really hard on us. But I think her being hard on me made me want to be better and do better. And having the patience now to teach my niece how to bead, or when I have younger nieces and younger people come to my house and hang out, my dinner table is, we never use it to eat on. We have crafts all over. So I invite them to, I give them a project to work with. I'll sit there while I'm working on my beadwork. I'll be teaching them as I'm working on what I'm working on. It's just something to keep passing on and doing. And sometimes they'll take their stuff with them, or they're gonna say, can I leave it here so when I come back, I can work on this with you? When I come back again, I'm like, yeah, of course, my door is always open for you to come hang out with me and bead and learn. Like, I love teaching people how to do what I do. I do think I'm a terrible teacher because sometimes I'm like, I'll forget a step or two. Then I'm like, okay, wait, let's backtrack because I think we're supposed to do this, and then we can jump to this. So sometimes it's hard for me to teach because my mind's racing and I'm just so used to doing it. But I do enjoy having the patience enough to work with people who don't know what they're doing or scared to do it. My husband hates beading because he sticks himself and he gets really frustrated, but he's a really good sewer. And so he will sit there and teach people how to sew while I'm sitting there teaching someone how to bead. So our house is literally like a craft house because we invite family and friends in to just learn from us, and we also learn from them. Like, there are different techniques and different styles because there's some things I can't do and there's some things I can do.
Talk about patience. I have zero patience, but when it comes to beading, I have all the patience in the world. Like, everything else, I'm like, okay, this could have been an email, it's a yes or a no, but like when I sit down to bead, it kind of calms me, and that's one thing I definitely say to those that I guess I loosely teach. It's a weird word to say because I don't really see myself as a teacher, but those that I do, help guide with beading, I tell them, when you do sit down to bead, make sure you have good energy, or it puts you in good energy because that goes into your work and what you're doing. So that's one thing I have experience with, is just, making sure that I do have the right energy and patience in sitting down and doing my work. But when it comes to learning, my maternal grandmother, Chloe, taught me how to bead when I was about 10. I was living with her, and then we moved. And so back then there was no FaceTime, there was no Zoom, and so I had a lot of unfinished pieces. So I put it down for a while because I'm like, I don't know how to go from here. And then I picked it back up in college when I went to Haskell into Nations University, and I was like, I kind of want to get back into beading. And then I just kind of MacGyvered my stuff together. Like, I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. And so a lot of what I do is self-taught. And by the time I really got into it and started learning about it, my grandmother passed, my great-grandmother passed, and so I really encourage people, to listen to your elders and talk to your elders and ask questions because, they're a resource. They're a really, really strong resource. So a lot of what I did, I really just kind of came up on my own and just really trial and error. And then when it came to teaching other people how to do what I did, it was the same thing as Brocade said. I was like, that's how I start off. I'm like, I'm just gonna show you what I do, but you're gonna figure out your own style. And if you feel like you wanna go down that direction, do it and mess up and be okay with it and just keep going. And then you'll learn your own style and create what you create. And if you just keep going, you'll be happy that you got it done, and that's something to look back on and, grow from there. So yeah, that's kind of been my thing when it comes to kind of paying it forward, or passing it forward, I should say, is just showing people what I've learned, but also I don't ever stop being a student because I like to learn from other people as well, and understanding why they think the way they think and they do the things that they do. So in every moment, I'm learning just as much as they are. So I think that's really important to me, to be able to just sit down and collaborate and learn, and I'm appreciative to anyone that wants to actually learn from me. So yeah.
Thank you. The next question, hopefully this is going to make sense. I did write it down when you all were talking. So as we sort of think about contemporary beadwork, not a lot of it, some of it, there's a certain uniformity to it. Almost, some of it maybe has sort of a pan-Indian feel to it, where you can go over here, and go over here, and there's similarities to it. Where, as opposed to each one of you, as you look at each one of your works, it's clearly embedded within your culture, right? So, as we look at each one of your beadwork, we can look at the material from the past, which each of you discussed, and be able to see a direct line from the work in the past to the work today, where I would think, and I don't bead by anything, it would be a little bit challenging to sort of stay on that path when there's so many different influences that can enter your design. So I'm wondering if each of you can talk about that. Does that question make sense? I hope so.
I can go. So yeah, I think I got it. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. I feel like when it comes to working and just kind of maintaining your style and making sure that you're staying true to you first and foremost, it can get distracting. I think it's very easy to, depending which rooms you're in and what markets you're a part of, you know, just as Avis was saying, is like it's easy to kind of get distracted by what your kind of sole purpose isn't when you're beading as an artist and what's true to you. And I've had that moment to where like I'm sitting down and it's feeling like work, like it's not feeling like art, to where I'm just sitting down creating what I want to create in what ways and what stories I want to tell. And I think when it gets to that point, that's when you have to shift gears. And it's a healthy point to be in, because it means you need to level up, or it's time for your next chapter. So whenever you're uncomfortable, it just means it's, you know, it's time to do the next thing. So yeah, so my style particular, I think when I first started, I had all of this, especially being biracial too, which is a whole nother conversation of intersectionality and, you know, not feeling good enough in one area of your life and who you're supposed to be. And when I started beading, I felt like I was supposed to be doing these designs, and I'm supposed to be doing, you know, supposed to be this person, and it has to look as native as possible, till finally I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to create my own style and be who I want to be. And once I did that, that's when it just felt so much more fulfilling, and more people were interested in what I was creating. So just being true to yourself and being passionate about what you're doing, and even creating something you're not even sure how it's going to turn out, but it's yours. You have something to show for it, and in terms of, you know, who you are and what story you want to tell. So yeah, I guess in a roundabout way, just kind of, if you're doing it for money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. But if you're putting your passion into it, you know, that shows, and that's what makes it the most fulfilling, and you're least likely to get distracted. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
It does. Thank you.
I can go next, or attempt to go next. I think I just really tried to like she said, like, stay true to yourself and like the type of work that you do. Like, I love seeing everybody's work, like especially like the pop culture beadwork. I don't think I could ever do that. Maybe I could, but like, I love seeing other people like push the limits of what native art is, especially native beadwork, because like they do get stuck in this idea of what native beadwork should be like, it should look like. And I'm like, no, native beadwork is going to be everything. It's the piece of, you know, being beaded on a bag. Like, it's just something different and pushing the limits, but also staying true to yourself. Like, I feel really lucky to be sitting up here with these two ladies, like looking at their pictures and their beadwork. Like, I'm like amazed that I'm able to sit up here and share my beadwork, which I feel like it's not up to their level, but you know, it's like it's my own work, it's my own stuff. Like, I do a lot of oak leaves and geometric designs, but I make my stuff for my family, like Brocade. Like, you wanted to bead for your family. Like, I love making my beadwork for my family. I love when my husband puts on his shoes, and he's my biggest supporter, number one, like showing off my work. He's like, yeah, my wife made these, this and that, telling everybody. And I get so embarrassed because I'm like, but I don't, like, I'm my biggest critic, because like, I don't think they're the best shoes, but like, the fact that he loves them and wears them all the time, like, it means a lot to me. Or seeing my bridesmaids who aren't native, like, they wear their earrings all the time, and they'll send me pictures of, I'm wearing the earrings you made me, because, you know, I feel so special and happy that you thought to make these for me, even though I'm not a native person. Like, they're still like supporting my work and who I am as a person. And like, that's what drives me to stay true to who I am and my style of beadwork, is just trying to just do it for fun and do it for my friends and family, and just doing it to do it. Like, it's such a calming and relaxing thing when I'm at home beading, watching TV, sitting with my family, and just doing what I like to do.
Wow. I feel like my beadwork is so, I love the old crow designs. That's what speaks to me, the geometric designs, the colors, everything put into it. So I kind of feel like that's where I'm at, and that's what I love doing, and that's probably what I'm going to keep doing. But I do know that even though there's other artists, other crow artists that bead the same way, we all have our own style. We all have our own colors that we do, and eventually when you do so many projects, they'll be like, oh, that's so-and-so's beadwork, that's Brocade's bead. Like, they can distinguish it, even if you're within the same tribe and you're doing the same type of designs. There's colors that you use. Like, I know there's colors that I use all the time, and there's different shapes. But as far as going outside of that, right now I just don't see myself doing that. I love where I'm at. I love what I make. But I do love the more contemporary stuff. I just love their creativity, the things they're doing, and I just encourage them to keep going, because that's their art. That's what makes them happy. And I always feel like, if you're doing what makes you happy, just keep doing it. Keep doing it, and that's basically.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentations, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.